man. Man, it's my honor to introduce an Oscar and Golden Globe winning artist, a musician, actor. DB, can you run down his litany of accomplishments to this point?
Well, I think if I was to do all of his accomplishments in his filmography, we'd probably be here until the movie comes out this Friday. But I can run down some of my own personal favorites. I mean, you and I were talking about Black and White, the film that was first introduced to me to him as an actor. I had the film on VHS when I was in college. Yep. After that, I moved on to Switchback, American Psycho, of course, Dallas Buyers Club, which he won the Academy Award for. And I have to mention my personal favorite, Blade Runner 2049, because I am a huge fan of Blade Runner series. Wow. Yes, of course. And I even have the red beret from the movie. I can't give away why this is important just yet, but people will watch the movie and they'll figure it out for themselves. I have to shout out Alexa from Warner Brothers because she's pretty much the only person that I've been able to talk to about this movie and these incredible actors in this film that will just leave you wondering and talking and conversating about everything from perception to how we view people and one another's personalities and characters and judgment. I could go on forever, but I just want to welcome him to the show so we can get this thing started. Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. Hey.
Woo! Superstar.
What's up, Jared? Good to see you, brother.
I appreciate it. It's good to see you too. It's like such a wild world we're living in. I feel like I haven't, I've seen your face in a long time, but it's nice. I appreciate the energy you guys have too.
Absolutely, man. We're energy benders, kind of like you, Great. When you talk about it, man, I have to ask you this because before we talk about the movie, because I was a big fan of 30 Seconds to Mars, and I started working at MTV in 2001. Y'all debut album came out in 2002, right? And I remember wanting to always talk to you guys about the music, and then I always wanted to talk to you about your hair because at that time I had locks, right? And I used to say, yo, Jared Leto got the top 5 man hair in the game right now. You got Bob Marley, Damian Marley, Jesus, Samson, and you. And so I always wanted to know, my locks were spiritually connected. It wasn't just an aesthetic. And I feel like, to me, I used to tell people, his hair isn't just about being clean and being beautiful. I think it's a larger connection with Jared and his hair. Is that true? Do you find power in your follicles?
Oh shit, that's hilarious. What's funny is when I was a little kid, I always wanted to have long hair, and I think at the time, my mother's kind of hippie friends and the crew that she rolled around with, artists and hippies and a bunch of wild people, they kind of had longer hair. So maybe it was just the association with that, the artists, and then I've just kind of had projects my hair is honestly long now because I did this thing called Morbius. So, and we're actually still shooting a little bit for that in a couple of weeks. So it's just been, according to what the roles are. Because if you got to play a guy in the army, you got to shave your head, But but I don't know. Maybe some secret powers in there somewhere. I don't know, man.
Yeah, you got to research it, man. You got to research it. Okay, good. Okay. Well, maybe you'll look into that now that I brought it up. I don't want to focus on Morbius. That's not why we're here. But Tyrese came by the show. And
cool.
Yeah, that's my brother, and he was so excited
he's a sweetheart, man. He did a great job, and we're so lucky to have some of his caliber be a part of the movie. It was really cool.
Okay, cool. And I want to, DB mentioned Black and White. One of the reasons why we were talking about that, because our good friend Power with the WuTang Clan was in it. And, the WuTang Clan coming from, Staten Island. And I was curious, did you get a chance to meet any of those dudes? And what are your thoughts about them? Are you a WuTang Clan fan?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But I'm going to show my age here. When I was young, I liked like Eric B and Rakim and BDP, and that's what I listened to. I remember a guy, I was living in Washington, D.C., and there was a guy that would come down there from New York, from Brooklyn, I think. And he had a boombox, of course, and, just bringing the whole New York thing down. And he would play these tapes, and he would play me music. He was so excited, such a fan of music. And I don't even, there wasn't a name to it. There wasn't rap or hip hop. He was just playing me stuff that was like, you know, I remember that one song like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, ain't got nothing against no credit cards because cash is the best. You remember, you know, that track?
Way back.
Good as on beat.
Yeah, but at the time, not to digress, but go-go music was huge in DC, and in rap or hip hop, as it, you know, people ended up knowing it as was coming out of New York, and there was this kind of battle between the two at that time, you know. But I remember my brother, we used to go to these go-go concerts in DC, and this guy would come play me this music, and so that was more my era. And then a couple of friends of mine got a hold of some tapes, and but yeah, Black and White. Nobody's asked me about that movie. I forgot I did it.
Yeah, well, hey, this is a first. Here we go. You mentioned Eric B and Rakim, easily one of the top MCs ever. And then you mentioned Boogie Down Productions, BDP with KRS-One. Heather B, who was the co-host of this show, was actually a member of Boogie Down Productions. Say what up to Jared.
What's up, Jared? How you doing? I know Sway is going all the way back. I was on the BDP Edutainment album back in 1990. It's a song called 7 DJs. So check it out. I had all the crazy bars, busting shots for South Africa and all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely a throwback. I wasn't ready for you to even say BDP, but I'm glad you did. That shout out to you.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, it was good shit. It was also too a time where you felt like you were discovering something that nobody knew about, you know, and it was pretty powerful. And people were talking about real shit, you know. It was like, you know, you really got a glimpse into, you know, someone's life when you listen to that music, and just strong, powerful delivery. Anyway, it was a magical time.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk about the film. Because like DB expressed earlier, bro, I was fascinated by this film. I kept rewinding scenes and listening to the dialogue. We can't give up too much because it's not here yet. It's not out yet, but I was very impressed with your interpretation of this character, Sparma. And to me, those kind of characters, those unsettling, dark characters can be really hard to play. You know, you gotta hard to play and distinguish your character from some of the legendary characters like Robert De Niro played in Cape Fear, or you know, people like that. Those kind of characters, folks usually compare. Sparma is nothing like those characters, but I'm curious to, were you concerned at all about comparisons, and what was your approach to Sparma to distinguish him?
Well, it's a great question. You know, and I think it's probably something a lot of actors or artists, musicians deal with too. You want to do something great, you got to step into new territory, you got to embrace risk and failure. And I certainly took that approach here. I just kept reminding myself to be as brave as possible. And the fun thing was that there is a history of people kind of taking these darker characters and elevating them. I mean, you have two great performances in Silence of the Lambs, one of which won an Academy Award, Anthony Hopkins. And then the original Manhunter, I thought there were two beautiful performances in Michael Mann's first film, Manhunter. I don't know if it's his first film, but one of his early films. So elevated performances, there was a bar that was set there and an opportunity. And when they first came to me with the script, I actually said no, because I thought, you know, maybe I shouldn't play a suspect or a villain. I've done a lot of things that have been on the darker side of the universe. And when I talked to the director, you know, I said, look, if we're going to do this, I really want to go for it. I want to completely transform from head to toe. And he was game. And, you know, between that and working with one of my heroes, the one and only Denzel Washington, we could do a good, you know, half hour on Denzel. For me, you know, that he's Brando. He's like Beethoven, Brando, and, you know, Steve Jobs all rolled up into one. He's just a killer. He always is good. he never lets you down. He always elevates, and the consistency of his work and the fact that he carries every film that he's in is just astounding. I mean, just astounding, pound for pound, just the winner. So I was psyched to work with him.
Come on, man. Listen, that triumphant between the three of you, it was like Jordan and two Kobe's on the same court. Right? Wasn't it? HB, you didn't think that?
Crazy. No, I was just excited too because I didn't have a chance to see anything yet. I just been watching the trailers, and ironically today I was checking out the Hollywood Reporter, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like good karma because we're going to talk to Jared today. And it was so funny because in the Hollywood Reporter, Jared, I don't know if you had a chance to read this, but it said Leto clearly has a taste for playing creeps, reveling in the shadings of a character who could be psychotic or merely a clever misfit, leaving enough of a question mark dangling over his guilt to undermine the cop's growing certainty. And I was like, as an artist and as an actor, when you hear somebody say you sort of have a knack for playing creeps, what do you think when you hear something like that, Jared?
I mean, I guess you got to find a compliment in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I would disagree because, I would look at, the role a lot of people know me for, especially in this second half of my career, is the Dallas Buyers Club. And I would say that role is anything but creepy. It's quite the opposite. I mean, right. I couldn't think of a more loving, endearing, angelic soul than the one that I got to play in that movie. So I gently would push back against that. I have explored some of the darker side. I would also say like Requiem for a Dream, another film that people know me from. The character's a dreamer, a good-hearted, solid sweetheart. But it's also fun to play these juicy roles like this. And I think the film, it's funny to hear people say that because in the film, I don't want to give too much away, but it does talk about, questions about perception and assumption and identity, and the fact that Sparm is different and doesn't really fit in and is creepy to some is exactly what the film is about. So,
got it.
Like how he summed that up without giving up everything. You're pro.
Yeah, and it was interesting too, Sway, because without him even knowing I read that this morning. He was like, he initially said no to the role. So I was like, wow, that's so crazy that you even brought that up earlier.
And also to Jared's point, my gosh, you have taken me on such an adventure with all of these roles. From beginning with My So-Called Life, that was when I wanted to give Jared my virginity. Then I saw Requiem for a Dream, and I was like, I need to give this man a hug. and maybe give him a ride to the hospital. And I think about actors a lot and how much just your psychological framework is stretched in so many ways, especially if you are a brave artist such as yourself. And I'm like, will directors make sure there's like a therapist on set? Like, do you keep your mental health like in tip-top shape because you're entering so many different hearts and brains? Or is acting the form of therapy for you?
No, I can drive you a little crazy, definitely. I mean, it's like anything, if you were to like binge watch How to Make a Murderer, 1 and 2 in like, in a week or something, it starts to get under your skin. You need a little break. But with a film, like this especially, I was reading the craziest FBI transcripts. I was looking at things that people probably shouldn't spend that much time with in terms of like, crime scene reports. And, so at a certain point that can get under your skin. And then when you take a physical challenge, if you transform your body and create habits, that sometimes can take a little while to let go of. It really, I think it depends on your approach, but I'm pretty, I got a strong mind. I can handle it.
Yeah. Do you have any rituals for just like rinsing off a character? Is there like something you always do after a film is done?
Well, it's a good question. Usually I go on tour with 30 Seconds to Mars, and we're usually so busy, I make films in breaks. So I don't make many films. I don't often act because we're so busy with the music. And but I'm glad that I did this movie. It was quite a special one. Everyone showed up ready to go. I mean, it was like getting in the ring with a prize fighter, with Denzel and Rami as well, just an incredible upstart. So the set was pretty explosive.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Okay, DB, go ahead, man. I know you're gnawing that debate right now.
There's when people watch this film, you get the sense that something's off about you, Rami, and Denzel. Like nothing too obvious. It's just that you get that feeling like, okay, there's something weird about these characters. Like, even though this person's depicted as a good guy, this guy's depicted as, this cop with a family, and then you're depicted as, the guy who's unsettling and makes people uncomfortable. But back to that thing about perception, where it's like, just because somebody may be creepy or, weird you out a little bit, doesn't mean they're guilty of a crime. And it goes the same way for somebody who may be the nicest person that you've ever met, could have a complete, total dark side that you don't know about. So when you're playing a character like Sparma in this film, how did you know when to push just enough to maybe get a rise out of either Rami or Denzel, but also not to push too much and know when to pull back so that you're not being too oblivious or too obvious, like, okay, I'm the creepy bad guy or something like that?
I mean, that's a great point to bring up. But, I said from the beginning, I wanted to push things as far to the edge as I could without crossing the line into absurdity. And, I also wanted to put a real human up on the screen. I wanted to create a complex person who had his, idiosyncrasies. But, one of my favorite parts about Sparma was his sense of humor. I always found him to be quite funny. And he uses that humor to keep people off balance and to surprise others. And that was a lot of fun on the set, to come in with a lot of improvisation and ad libs and things like that. I mean, it was just, you couldn't say or do anything wrong when you played this guy. And that's fun, that freedom to say whatever the fuck you want anytime you want to say it is fantastic. It's not like that every time. So I enjoyed the freedom.
Okay, come on, DB, go ahead. I know.
Well, given the fact that you, Rami, and Denzel are all Academy Award winners, people like to compare athletes. We were talking about comparisons earlier, and some people, if they're talking about who's the greatest basketball player, some people won't even bring up a name if you haven't won a championship. Like, that should be, the qualifying piece number one. But when you're talking about acting, is there like another level of respect that comes with being amongst co-stars that have all been acknowledged for your skill in acting? Like, do you all look at each other as like, okay, you've proven that you can do this at this level, instead of just somebody who's been cast in a role that you're not really sure whether they can carry that character?
Well, like Mr. Washington says, that belt you won last time doesn't help you in the fight you're in now. And it's a nice gift, it's a nice gesture, it's a beautiful thing to have happen, and to be able to share that with your family and your friends, all the people that have supported you. That's like, just, I wish everyone could win an Oscar. It's such an amazing thing, but it doesn't help you. I don't even think it made me more confident as an artist. I still, you deal with a lot of doubt and fear, and you have to embrace failure and mistakes. That's where the gold is. None of us were in that place. I think all of us were like, okay, we have an opportunity. I knew I was going to show up ready to rumble, and I don't think anyone shows up on a set with Denzel Washington. I pity the person who would show up, just
not ready. Yeah.
Him, just because, like, you're going to miss that opportunity. So I really took full advantage of it.
Denzel was very complimenting of you and Rami and your performance, and I know people have always said about you that Jared Leto is a method actor. So by the time you see him on set, he's already in character. He was in character weeks prior, probably. He probably hangs out at home in character, right? And so I remember you guys saying y'all didn't really talk much on set because y'all both stayed in character, and I wonder what that energy is like. You know, when the movie is done, do you guys then go, man, I've been wanting to say what's up to you for a long time, hug each other, you know, go shoot dice? I mean, what is it like when the movie is done?
Yeah, I can't wait to shoot some dice with. Imagine. No, we stayed in our corners, and it was, I think, the right thing. It was like an unspoken thing that happened, and you know, the greatest gift that he gave me was the faith that he had in me, and you could feel it, the respect that he had for me. But I don't, you know, what I done to deserve his respect, I don't know, but he just gave me that gift. And I remember I heard after the fact, the very first day we did that interrogation scene, which a lot of people are talking about, or asking about. And he was behind glass, so he came to watch the first part of it, and just to kind of, I could see his shadow back there a little bit. So I think he was doing that just to make an impact on the performance, which was quite genius in and of itself. But I heard after that scene, he called up his son, who is, you know, obviously a genius in the making as well. And he said, you better get your ass out here and defend your position, because these young kids are tearing it up. And I heard that and I was like, oh, that's so amazing. It's just so fun to hear that kind of stuff from your heroes. But we saved all our energy, all the jokes, all the improv, everything for those moments when the camera was rolling. And I think that was the perfect thing to do. We didn't interact until we started doing press for the movie.
Wow.
Denzel, hands down, coming from hip hop, we always have our top five. You know what I mean? Who's your top five MCs? Who your top five singers? Denzel, for me, growing up, after he did X with Spike Lee and played Malcolm X, he sealed his position as my in my top five. He's my favorite actor. And then also, if I could be transparent, you don't often see a lot of big box office Hollywood stars in these days like you once did. Like you named Brando and all of these big actors with these big brands. The fact that he's been able to accomplish that, being a black man in Hollywood, I think it makes it just as exceptional. I don't think he cares about that. I think he's just an actor. But what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think you're right. And I think that what he's done, forget about race for a second, what he's done just as an actor, as a leading man, he's both movie star and a character actor. He's all of it wrapped in one. And then you throw on top of it the battles that he must have had, the studio executives that were like, yeah, can we just go? What about the other guy? He had to be twice as good, work twice as hard, be twice as quick, be twice as smart. He's always been one of my top five as well. He's just, what he does, like when you're an actor, you really know what he does. And it makes it even crazier because every role, he never phones it in. He puts his entire body and then his soul, his spirit, he is there emotionally. And it doesn't matter if the movie doesn't work, or some people may not have tried to elevate a certain type of movie, but he always delivers. You're never disappointed with him. And that's why he's been such a huge inspiration for me. I just think the world of him.
You said
and a great director as well. And my God, that movie was just incredible. And theater work that he does,
He's incredible, right? Who's some of your other top five?
For me, I always loved Christopher Walken.
Okay.
He's so fascinating. He's so different. I love Sean Penn. I love actors. Like Daniel Day-Lewis to me is, it's hard to think about someone else. He's incredible. But I have I'm a big fan of actors who take great risk. who really, really throw themselves into the work that they do, and you can feel it. They're willing to bleed for it a little bit. Those are the people that I appreciate. Okay, man. Jared Leto's here. Heather, I see you looking at his sweater. Go ahead and I see what you. Go ahead and
Jared is looking fly, and I'm hoping that the sweater game is you killing it right now, Jared. And I know that you have no way of even knowing this. That Sway and I, we go at it head to head. We have our top 5 in sports too. So I'm going to ask you to settle this bet, this $1 bet that Sway and I have going right now. Super Bowl is coming up. Kansas City Chiefs taking on Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Doggone it, Jared, who you got?
I'm just going to say Kansas City. I don't know.
Come on, Jared. Thank you, Jared. Yay. All right, Sway. I'm just saying. You see me and these colors going.
You ain't going for the GOAT? Come on, man. I thought we were aligned. I felt like we were aligned.
He's had a good run, but it's
time for a new script.
Can we talk about that sweater though?
Woo! This sweater, it's funny because it's a Gucci sweater. And I work I work really closely with that company, and they're just the sweetest people. They're just a great, family, and I really have a deep friendship with Alessandro Michele, who's the creative director, and it's a lot of fun. So for me, it makes a lot of this kind of stuff easy because I'm just like kind of just wear whatever they tell me to,
I know we have your reps information, so we can send you our addresses.
I have never had more people hit me up in my life about anything than they have for the North Face Gucci collaboration stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen this stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, I mean, there are billionaires hitting me up with this. I'm like, what are you doing? Buy the store. But they did a great job with that. And hey, you guys are all audio centric people, even though a lot of this stuff is filmed as well. Have you guys been on Clubhouse?
Yeah.
Have you done the Clubhouse thing?
Have you done that?
Yeah, I've been on it a few times. I just thought it was interesting for audio people. I didn't know if you were on there.
No, I like it. I think it's a lot of information on there that's valuable. I love the conversations. People can speak freely, on it. I go in and out though. It's one of those things, that you don't want to get addicted to it. You know what I mean?
No, I know there are people that spend 20 hours a week on this app. It's incredibly. It's an incredibly addictive one.
I was gonna say I've dubbed 50 invites.
Oh damn! Okay.
I have a long reason for why.
Well, if I send you an invite, Tracy, you got to accept that.
Hey, Jared. Jared, I want to thank you for your time, man. Round of applause for Jared Leto. Come on, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate the time.
The little things. Chiefs. All right. And then when 30 Seconds to Mars come with the next project, can we do this again?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Appreciate you, Jared Leto. You're a citizen, man. You're a citizen.
Sway in the morning.